Hi, this is Steve from the Gay Dolls, and today we're going to be looking at 10 top English gay movies. Now these numbers are just in random, they're not a top 10 literally as we're counting down, it's just 10 great films. One of the first films off is number 1 is Victim, made in 1961. This British film was directed by Basil Dearden and is pioneering work that deals with homosexuality and legal prosecution of gay men in England. It premiered in the UK in August 1961 and in the USA the following February. It was the first British film to explicitly name homosexuality and deal with it sympathetically. On its release in the United Kingdom, it proved highly controversial to the British Board of Film Censors, and in the USA, it was refused a seal of approval from the American Motion Picture Production Code. Despite this, the film received acclaim and is now regarded as a British classic, as well as having been credited for liberalising attitudes towards homosexuality in Great Britain. Gay sex between men was illegal in the UK in the 1960s and punishable by imprisonment. The Sexual Offences Act of 1967 partially decriminalised it in England and Wales for men over 21 in private. This film, a successful barrister, Melvyn Farr, has a thriving London practice. He's on his course to become a Queen's Counsel and people are already talking of him to be appointed a judge. He is apparently happily married to his wife Laura. Farr is approached by Jack Boy Barrett, a young working-class gay man with whom Farr has had a romantic relationship. Farr rebuffs the approach, thinking Barrett wants to blackmail him about their relationship. And of course, this film is really interesting, and it's a great film. So if you can catch Victim, made in 1961, this one starred Dirk Bogarde, who of course himself was a closeted homosexual. So quite an interesting film, just even in that aspect.
Mrs. Pesco?
Yes?
We'd like a word about your lodger, Barry.
You knew, of course, he was a homosexual.
I had formed that impression.
Offers unlimited opportunities for blackmail.
I see, Barrett.
That's not possible, sir. Barrett hanged himself in his cell this afternoon.
Number 2, Beautiful Thing, 1996. This British film, directed by Hetty MacDonald, explores the blossoming relationship between two teenage boys in a London housing estate. The film was originally intended for television broadcast only, but it was so well received that it was released cinema-wide. The main character, Jamie, is a teenager who is in love with his classmate Stu. Jamie's single mother, Sandra, is preoccupied with an ambitious plan to run her own pub and has ever-changing string of lovers. The latest of these is Tony, a neo-hippie. Slowly, Stu accepts Jamie's love and their relationship develops as they visit a gay pub together. Sandra follows them and discovers their secret. This is a very interesting film because the characters in this film play out. We are living in a housing estate where just gay people are just not really accepted. However, it is 1996, so it does develop. We have a next door neighbour, a young girl who is friend with Jamie and Stu, and that does get everyone through this story. So another great film. It was very popular at the time. I can remember this in the late 90s, and just everyone was talking about Beautiful Thing.
Here's Jamie. He's having serious attitude problems with his mum, Sandra. This is Steve. Jamie would like to be Steve's best mate.
I think I'll have 2 of you and 10 of your mate. Hello.
Number 3 is Maurice, made in 1987. This was adapted from the E.M. Foster's novel. This British film was directed by James Ivory and tells the story of a gay romance in Edwardian England. This was a group of 3 films that were made by Merchant Ivory from E.M. Foster. There is Room with a View, Maurice, and Howard's End. This film starred James Willoughby as Maurice, Hugh Grant as Clive, and Rupert Graves as Alec. The story follows the main character Maurice Hall through university, relationships, and a struggle to fit into society, and ultimately being united with his life partner years later. In 1909, Maurice is attending the University of Cambridge, where he strikes up a friendship with 2 fellow students, the aristocrat Viscount Risley and the rich and famous Clive Durham. Clive falls in love with Maurice and surprises him by confessing his feelings. At first, Maurice reacts with horror, but he soon realises that he reciprocates Clive's feelings. The two friends embark on a passionate love affair, but at Clive's insistence, their relationship remains non-sexual. Maurice the book was published in 1971 after the death of E.M. Forster. The novel was controversial, given Forster's homosexuality had not been known or widely acknowledged. Today's critics continue to argue over the extent into which Forster's sexuality and personal activities influenced his writing. He was to have known to have many lovers later in life, once he finally did embrace his gay lifestyle. This film, of course, is a beautiful period piece. If you love those Room with a View, Howard's End, even Downton Abbey kind of films, you will love Maurice. Truly an outstanding film.
Have you been alright? Have you? No. You wrote that you were.
Number 4 is My Beautiful Laundrette, made in 1985. This was directed by Stephen Frears. Now, this film is absolutely amazing because homosexuality, 1985, in a major release film. This was really something. I remember this at the time. This is 2 years before Maurice came out, so this was new, it's contemporary. This film explores the relationship between a young British Pakistani man and a former school friend set against the backdrop of social economic challenges in London. What could be more crowd-pleasing than a gay love story between a Pakistani immigrant and an ex-National Front member? Not much in 1985, as it turned out. This provocative drama proved to be a hit with both critics and cinema-goers and helped launch the career of Daniel Day-Lewis. Homosexuality is just one of the topics covered in this ambitious Oscar-nominated screenplay, which also takes on racism, culture clash, and the state of Thatcher's Britain. Despite the prickly subject matter, My Beautiful Laundrette is a testimony to the fact that the audience will respond to an unorthodox subject matter as long as the quality is there.
The beginning of a business empire.
It'll be going into profit any day now.
I don't want my son in this underpants cleaning condition.
David Denby of New York Magazine calls it rambunctious, juicy, richly entertaining. My Beautiful Laundrette is a work of substance.
Number 5 is Sebastian, made in 1976, directed by Derek Jarman. Now, this was an underground sort of niche film that came out in the 70s. I did not see this film probably until well into the 80s, but even then in the 80s, you very rarely saw full frontal male nudes in any films. This film, however, went way over the top with this, and this was in 1976. This film explores the last days of Saint Sebastian, the Christian martyr tortured and executed by bow and arrow during his banishment. Few films outside gay porn featured as much male flesh as in Sebastian, the featured debut of Derek Jarman, co-directed by Paul Humphries. It's a queer reimagining of these last days of Saint Sebastian. While his fellow exiles fight, fuck and frolic naked in the desert, Sebastian resists such hedonism and instead recites poetry praising God. This leads to his violent death. It's a real one-of-a-kind film and potentially clash of beauty and vulgarity, all told with Latin dialogue. Jarman would go on to become one of Britain's most exciting filmmakers of the 70s and 80s, directing Jubilee, which was a punk rock film, in 1978, Caravaggio in 1986, and The Last of England in 1987. He was really one of the first major gay directors, I think, that just put so much product out there and celebrated being gay.
Ormai coronam imperatori saltavi.
Saltavisni.
Ita post triumphum. Coronam aureum mihi dedit.
Quod nomen saltationem inditum est.
Saltatio solis in aquis.
Number 6 is Pride, made in 2014, directed by Stephen Beresford. This film was a very popular film in 2014, and it was a major wide release that was so popular. It was great to see something to do with lesbian and gay activists that was such a big hit. The film itself depicts a group of lesbian and gay activists who raise money to help families affected by the British miners' strike in 1984. This is the strike that went on during the Margaret Thatcher era, and of course all of these mines were closed down across all of these towns across the UK, and today it's really sad to think that all these towns are just left barren from the 80s right through to still now. And the outset of what would become the Lesbian and Gay Support the Miners campaign. It was based on a true story and depicts a group of lesbian and gay activists who raised money to help families affected by the British miners in the strike in 1984. Now, of course, what's funny about this is you do have a whole group of these crazy gay people who turn up in this small village, talk about the only gay in the village. Now, this was such a funny, the initial reaction from the town folk, which was just hysterical, until acceptance, and then, on with what's happening with the mines and the Margaret Thatcher story. Once again, this is such a great film, and don't miss this. It's certainly funny, and it gives you faith in humanity.
Communities are being bullied just like we are. What they need is cash.
Yeah, because the miners have always come to our aid, haven't they?
It doesn't matter, it's the...
Your gays have arrived!
The of gays and lesbians has come out in favour of the miners' strike.
Number 7 is Priest, made in 1994, directed by Antonio Bird, a Roman Catholic priest played by Linus Roach, as he struggles with two major issues including homosexuality and a crisis of faith. The film's release was controversial and relieved condemnation from the church. Father Greg, newly assigned to St Mary's Parish in inner-city Liverpool, struggles with his gay urges, especially after he meets a man named Graham at a local gay hangout, and the two embark on a physical relationship. The film received very vocal condemnation from the church, while the Catholic Church in Ireland, in particular, calling for a ban on the theatrical distribution. Now, this film, it was a very interesting film, once again, made in 1994, dealing with homosexuality again. There was quite a lot of on-screen lovemaking. I guess I could have said gay sex, so it would have been quite a shocker. And this was released like a wide release film. So in 1994, it was in all the cinema complexes in all of the malls around the world. So, and having their Catholic priest having all of these issues. I mean, if you're a gay man living today, you would realize that, priests are no different to anybody else and everyone has urges. But of course, back in those days, the church was a lot stronger and it really made a big effect. And I remember reading so many stories about this film. I did enjoy it. It's a great film. If you can catch it on DVD or streaming, I will look into that and leave some notes down the bottom as to whether it is available to prick up your ears. Made in 1987, directed by Stephen Frears, who, as I mentioned earlier, did My Beautiful Laundrette. This film is a biographical drama focusing on the life and relationship of British playwright Joe Orton and his partner Kenneth Halliwell. The film opens in Islington on the 9th of August 1967, where literal agent Peggy Ramsey knocks on the door of playwright Joe Orton and his lover Kenneth Halliwell, but nobody opens. She calls the police and they find the corpses of the two men. A decade later, a theatre critic, John Lahr, visits Peggy Ramsey because he wants to write Orton's biography, and they find Joe Orton's diaries, and Peggy tells Lahr about Orton's life. Now, this is a great film. It's funny, it's very camp, and of course it does have a dramatic ending with the death of both of them. But it does feature a lot of English people from that time, like the Kenneth William crowd, everyone going to Morocco just to have sex with as many boys as they can, a lot of cottaging going on in London, and celebrating Joe Orton's plays like Loot, Entertaining Mr. Sloane, What the Butler Saw, which are still playing and revived all of the time these days. They are always such outrageous comedies. They usually always feature some sort of male nudity, and if you can catch one of these plays, do. Now, Prick Up Your Ears came out in 1987, as I said. This one was another gay biography film that featured gay sex and some nudity. So it was quite interesting, and it was mainstream. The critics, I think, loved this film. Gary Oldman was incredible as Joe Orton and so outrageous. And what I didn't say at the beginning, it does go back and talk about his childhood and how he ends up in London and becomes a playwright. So there's a lot of story here. So you will love this one.
What happens if we split up?
I taught you.
I taught you too.
What? How to go into a public lavatory?
I knew nothing at all about him the first time you walked in.
Hello.
1964. He said, next time, can I bring my friend? Which was quite bold in those days.
I'm Joe Orton's friend, as if it's a profession.
It's the Dark Ages, men and men, and they could still put you in prison for it.
He's probably a policeman.
Yes, I know, isn't it wonderful?
Number 9 is Clapham Junction. This was made in 2007. Directed by Kevin Elliott, who also directed My Night with Reg. This film centres on the experience of several gay men during a 36-hour period in the Clapham area of London and the consequences when their lives collide. From a civil partnership ceremony to a heated dinner party, 5 stories are woven into a London from school to work to bars to clubs during one hot summer night. The film opens with the audio of the weather report highlighting a current heat wave. The drama was shown as a part of a short season by Channel 4 to mark the 40th anniversary of the decriminalisation of homosexuality in England and Wales. The drama caused controversy and received mixed reaction, particularly from gay viewers who felt it was a negative portrayal of gay men, though some found it intelligent and thought-provoking. The characters in this are all quite different. So you have like the aggressive gay man, you have like the passive, you've got the wedding ceremony where one of the partners is having sex with a waiter. It's a lot going on in this film. There is a young boy in it who has an affair with a guy across the street who turned out to be some sort of on the sexual register or something, and his mum and dad find out. So there's a lot going on in this film. I actually really enjoyed it. As it says, it was made for TV, but it was released on DVD. We can look into finding where this is on thegaydolls.com. I shall try and make some sort of list of all of these films as to where you can see them or if you need to buy them on DVD. Once again, Clapham Junction, if you can catch it. I have a feeling it is on YouTube, so check it out. You will really enjoy this film.
Will, this ring is a token of my abiding love.
And a sign of the promise I make to you today.
Are you married?
No, I'm gay.
Oh, how nice. As look at my boy again.
Now, number 10 is Lilting, made in 2014. This is a smaller film. It was directed by Hong Kei-hu. I know I pronounced that wrong, but Lilting tells the story of a mother's attempt at understanding who her son was after his untimely death. Her world is suddenly disrupted by the presence of Lover, played by Ben Whishaw, who is just superb in this film. Together they attempt to overcome their grief while struggling against not being able to share the same language. This film is just beautifully told. I really enjoyed it. It's very visual. The love between these two guys is just beautiful, and as I said before, these untimely deaths does bring an end close to that. So don't miss Lilting. Once again, I will let you know how we can see this one on thegaydolls.com.
他干嘛要来这儿? She asked, why have you come here?
If only she liked you. Make this a lot easier.
凯是我唯一的儿子. He was my only child.
He was my life. He was my...
I tried telling her. My heart was pounding so fast.
There have been so many significant English gay films during the 20th century, and just to cover some of them here has been really great. Don't forget to visit at thegaydolls.com, where I will do how you can view these 10 films, whether they're available on streaming or DVD, or how we can get to see them, like I said, with Clapham Junction still on YouTube. Anyway, this is Steve from The Gay Dolls. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and I shall speak to you soon. This is Steve. Bye for now.